Hello, beautiful people of the internet. My name is Jackie and welcome back to my channel. So, I'm just gonna be completely honest with you guys. If you're here because you want a really positive, happy review of the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones, this is not a video for you to watch because I have 99% negative feelings about this. When I watched the episode last night, it actually brought me to tears because I was so disappointed. And I feel betrayed. And maybe that's a really strong word to use because this is only a TV show and at the end of the day it's fictional. But as someone who has dedicated so much time to this story, has been so personally invested in the characters, to see it all be massacred in this way makes me feel like I'm a complete and utter idiot who has wasted my time. So I can only be completely honest about my feelings in this video, and if you don't want to hear me say why I feel like this is a complete and utter travesty, then maybe don't watch this video, because I'm not going to pretend that I'm okay with this ending when I'm not. I only started watching Game of Thrones in 2017, and I know that's only 2 years, and there are people who have been watching the show since 2011. There are people who have read the books since the 90s, have been waiting this long for the story. But in those 2 years, I really gave the show a lot of my heart and soul, and the characters resonated with me in a way that no other characters ever have, and I felt so personally invested in their stories. And this show has really helped me because this last year of my life has been one of the most difficult years I've ever faced. Personally, I really don't talk about that online that much, but I really struggled emotionally, and I lost a lot. And in that year, there were times where Game of Thrones was the only thing in my life that I felt like I had going for me. I'm gonna cry again. It was really the only thing that could make me happy, and it was something that I felt like I had a reason to go on for when everything else in my life was falling apart. So to see everything that I love about this show be decimated in 2 episodes after I loved it so deeply for 7.5 seasons is devastating to me. And I know that's really weird for some people, that I'm so devastated over a show, because at the end of the day it's not real and the characters aren't real and life's gonna go on. But I was so personally invested in this show that the fact that they took everything that meant so much to me away from me in 2 weeks is very hard for me to reconcile. And it hurts because I know I'm never going to be able to watch the show the same way again, because the character arcs now feel pointless. And I'm in the middle of reading A Feast for Crows, and I don't even know if I want to finish it. Because the books, if they ever come out, might be better written and things might make more sense, but I don't know if I want to read them now when I know how these character arcs are going to end, and it feels like such a betrayal to me. I don't know if I want to give George R.R. Martin any more of my money after how my emotions have been played with like this. Now, don't get me wrong, I love happy endings, and that's really what I always root for, but I wasn't kidding myself. I knew there wasn't going to be a happy ending here. I was not expecting for every character that I loved to live, but we were told the ending was going to be bittersweet, and right now I can't find any sweetness in this. Not only did characters that I love die or have their characters totally ruined, but they don't even get to die as themselves. They've all been turned into versions of themselves that I don't recognize anymore. So at this point, I don't know how to find a silver lining in this. I don't know where the sweet part is gonna come in, because right now it seems like everything I've ever loved, every character I've ever loved, everyone is going to be miserable. And I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be a stereotypically happy ending. This isn't Disney, but I didn't think it was going to be so nihilistic. And after watching that episode, I've really just consistently felt since then a feeling of hopelessness. And that's not what I wanted. Because even though I knew that there were going to be things that were going to upset me about the end of this show, I wanted to walk away from it with a feeling of hope, with a feeling that everything these characters have sacrificed and lost and died for was worth something. And right now, I don't feel like it was worth something. I feel like it was all pointless. I guess I'll save the thing that I did like about this episode for the end, because then we can end this video on a positive note, or as positive as I'm capable of being right now. So first, I guess I will just talk about the complete and utter destruction of Daenerys Targaryen. Words can't even express how disappointed I am, because Daenerys, she was never my favorite character, but she did mean a lot to me. I have a Mother of Dragons case on my phone. I'd show it to you, but I'm filming on my phone and I don't feel like dismantling the setup just to show you, and I'm probably gonna take it off after this. Oh, my dad's texting me, hold on. Daenerys, I know, was an inspiration to a lot of women out there, myself included, because she was really a character who started off with nothing. She was sold in marriage by her abusive brother. She was raped by her husband, and she lost her unborn child. She was betrayed multiple times, you know, and she sort of tries to become a good leader. She wants to take back the throne and make the world a better place. She expresses this. And, you know, she hatches dragons from her own ingenuity, and she saves people from slavery, and she earns their love and devotion. And yes, Daenerys has violent tendencies, but there's a difference between retributive violence and massacring innocents, because up until this point, Daenerys was adamant that she never wanted to hurt an innocent person. She locked her dragons away because they killed one child, and now all of a sudden she's going through the streets of King's Landing, burning millions of people alive, including women and children, unarmed civilians. And that just disgusts me. You know, throughout Game of Thrones, there have been a lot of characters who have had violent vengeance against people who have wronged them or their loved ones, and those are presented as triumphant moments. Like, take for example the Battle of the Bastards, where, oop, there's my cat, where Jon witnesses Rickon's murder, and so then he charges into battle, defeats Ramsay, beats Ramsay's face into a pulp, and then hands Ramsay over to Sansa, who kills him by having him eaten alive by his own dogs. And I loved that moment. We all did. We were taught that, you know, the Starks are good guys, we should root for them. But now D&D are attempting to vilify Daenerys for her past actions, when at the time D&D were defending those things that she did and saying that she's not her father's daughter, that she was doing the right thing. And now all of a sudden they're backtracking and saying that since season 1, Daenerys has shown signs of Targaryen madness, when that's just not true, when that completely contradicts the things they've been saying for years. Why is it that certain things are okay when other characters do it? When the Starks do it? But Daenerys is mad because she kills slave masters, or her brother who just threatened the life of her unborn baby, or men who threatened her with rape. Why does that make her crazy and deranged when you're also at the same time wanting us to root for other characters doing very similar things? Don't get me wrong, having Daenerys go mad is something that I would have hated no matter how they did it, but I feel like there are better ways they could have done it if this was really the direction they wanted to go, which would have been more understandable and more nuanced. I really feel like the major problem I have with this season is how everything was so incredibly rushed, and it really just seemed like David Benioff and D.B. Weiss didn't really care about making a good story. They just wanted to be done with it. But to get back to my point about Daenerys, I think if you had framed this as the mental decline of a woman who has sacrificed everything and not received any appreciation, who put aside her quest for the throne to help defeat the White Walkers and didn't receive any thanks, who lost her closest advisors and 2 of the dragons that she considers her own children, only to receive nothing in return. If this was part of the mental decline of a woman who has been abandoned by her closest allies because a man showed up and they would rather have a man on the throne than a woman, even though the man doesn't want it, and the woman has prepared her for years for this moment, if that's how it was depicted, then that would have made more sense to me. But instead of doing that, D&D are now basically retconning everything I said in the past and saying that Daenerys' Targaryen madness has been inevitable since season 1. It really disgusts me how in the inside the episode they say that Daenerys' reaction to Viserys' death was chilling because Viserys was her abuser. And if you expect a woman to cry over her abuser, who literally just a few moments earlier was threatening the life of her unborn baby, then I don't know what to say, because that is so sexist and wrong. And I just don't get it. I think saying that Daenerys' Targaryen madness is inevitable is, well, one, completely sexist because Jon is also a Targaryen, but he comes out looking like the hero, whereas Daenerys is the deranged woman who can't keep her emotions in check, who is pushed over the edge due to a rejection from a man. And we're gonna make Varys, who is, Book Varys is really out for himself. He wants power. And if we're going to make him look like the martyr after all the sexist BS he spewed last episode about Daenerys and basically saying why women are too emotional to rule, if we're going to validate those beliefs and make Varys look to be like the good guy, that is incredibly misogynistic and disgusting. I also find it very disturbing that they're really sending this message of inevitability, that basically no matter how much Daenerys tried to be a good person, she had this genetic madness that comes out. Because I know a lot of people, this isn't me personally, but I know people who were inspired by Daenerys because they came from abusive situations. They had fathers who were horrible people, and they were inspired by how Daenerys could overcome that. And now you're basically sending the message that no matter how much we try, no matter how hard we try to be good people, to do the right thing, to leave our families' past behind us, it's always going to catch up to us in the end. And we are all doomed to become our horrible fathers. And that is such a depressing and nihilistic ending, which basically makes me wonder why you even had me root for Daenerys for all these years, why you showed me her journey and made me root for her, made me feel empowered by her, if you were going to tear her down in the span of 2 episodes and make her look like a crazy bitch whose decline was inevitable. It disgusts me. That's the best word I can use, is I think it's disgusting. It's also pretty clear to me that, I don't know, I think Jon's gonna be the one that's gonna have to kill Daenerys now. And that also disgusts me, because to have Daenerys be killed by her former romantic partner, someone that she loved and trusted, is disgusting, because there are so many women in our real world who are murdered by current or former intimate partners. And I just think that's disgusting to play it out on screen as some kind of heroic moment for Jon, where he kills the woman who did love him. And it makes me wonder what the point was of this Jon and Daenerys relationship. Why did you make it happen? Why did you have me root for this relationship? What is so upsetting to me is they gave all this foreshadowing about Daenerys getting pregnant, and none of that meant anything. It was just a tease to get my hopes up and then take it all away. And that's another anti-woman thing that I have here, is that there is this trope that women who are infertile, who don't have reproductive capabilities, are evil or somehow unnatural. And that's another anti-feminist trope that I think is being upheld here. And that is really upsetting to me as a woman who has felt empowered by Daenerys, to see her torn down like this, and to see this anti-woman narrative being furthered with the woman who has struggled for so many years coming out looking like the bad guy and Jon Snow looking like the hero again, is disgusting to me. I also feel incredibly bad for Emilia Clarke. I don't know if you guys read about the 2 almost fatal brain aneurysms she suffered while filming Game of Thrones back in the early days. But she talked a lot about how playing Daenerys, playing this strong woman who could survive so many horrible things, made her feel like she could survive when she was in so much pain that she wanted to die. And the fact that the writers took away from Emilia this character that got her through her darkest moments is very upsetting to me. And I have to imagine that the cast doesn't really like this ending. I know even if they don't like it, they can't publicly say so, but I just feel really bad for Emilia because I know this character meant so much to her, and now it's all been taken away from her. And you know, she had to play it out because she doesn't get to decide the ending. And I just want to make it clear that even though I am incredibly disappointed and upset by the way the show is going to end, I don't blame any of the cast for that. I know they're just doing their jobs, and I think every single one of them is so incredibly talented and put so much of their heart and soul in this project. I hope that this very disappointing ending to Game of Thrones will not affect their ability to get work in the future, because I hope all of them will have continual success. I think every single actor is very talented and they all seem like wonderful people. I have no animosity towards any of them, nor to any of the crew. The only people who I am really upset with are Dan and Dave and George R.R. Martin, because yeah, the books haven't been finished yet, but George said the overall ending was going to be the same. So clearly he's going to go down this path in the books too. And I feel like an idiot for sticking up for George and for D&D so many times, because in the end they didn't deserve it. I guess that's really all I have to say about Daenerys for right now. It's really hard for me to articulate my thoughts because I feel so lost and confused right now, so it's really hard for me to even talk about this. So let's just move on to my other really major disappointment, which is where Jaime ended up. And again, sort of like what I said with Daenerys, I now feel like, what was the point of Jaime's entire character arc? I am never going to be able to rewatch the show and enjoy his scenes, because now his entire arc feels ultimately pointless. And it leaves me with a big sense of hopelessness, because again, there is this sort of inevitability to Jaime's ending, this feeling that even though he tried to become a good person, to break away from this unhealthy relationship, it was never going to be enough. Now, I am an English major in college. I'm studying English with a creative writing concentration. So I study storytelling, I study literature, and I study writing. And the thing about character arcs is that the character always has to end up in a different place from where they started. Not necessarily a better place, they could end up in a worse place. They could get a happy ending, they could get a tragic ending, they could end up losing everything. It doesn't matter as long as they end up in a different place. And there's some sort of clear progression that gets them to where they end up. You know, if they have a really tragic ending, you want to be able to look back at the storyline and see the choices they made that got them there. But with Jaime's story arc, I feel like his storyline was more of a circle, because he really ended up in the same place where he was when he started this series in season 1. So what was the point of me watching his storyline and of rooting for his redemption if you're gonna throw all of it away in 2 episodes? I really feel like a fool, because I hoped that Jaime was going to kill Cersei, and that the things that he said to Brienne were to protect her, not because he actually meant them. And my mom, who doesn't even ship Brienne and Jaime romantically, agreed with me. And when it turned out that he was really going back to Cersei, that the show was really going to paint Cersei as Jaime's soulmate and true love, I felt disgusted, because Cersei and Jaime's relationship is not romantic. It's not a model relationship. It's not healthy. And that's not just because of the incest thing. It's not like they are these two tragic lovers who, oh, if only they weren't related, they could be together and be happy. It's not a healthy relationship. They continually brought out the worst in each other. And just a couple episodes ago, Cersei sent someone to kill Jaime. And Jaime's going back to her because she's the love of his life, when she just ordered someone to murder him. And it's clear that he never meant that much to her. Like, when the two of them saw each other again and Cersei started crying, he went, Jaime, you're bleeding. It just made no sense, because I'm like, Cersei, why are you crying about him being injured? A couple episodes ago, you tried to kill him, and not for the first time. Ultimately, now I feel like I just wasted my time getting morally invested in Jaime as a character, in his development and his relationship with Brienne. For years, we saw Brienne help facilitate this change in Jaime, and we saw Jaime become a better person, in part because of Brienne's influence. And now the writers threw all of that away in 2 episodes to have him go crawling back to this toxic, abusive relationship. What was even the point of having Jaime leave Cersei at the end of season 7 if this is just where he was going to end up? It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's really upsetting to me, because it's just bad writing. It's bad storytelling. And the other thing is, I love Braimy. Even after this, I still do. I have loved their relationship, and it's been my absolute favorite in the entire series. But if this was really how they wanted Jaime's storyline to end, then I wish that he had never had sex with Brienne. Because Brienne loved him. She lost her virginity to him. He was her only sexual partner, the only man that she ever really loved. I mean, she loved Renly, but you know what I'm getting at here. Her only real romantic relationship. She really put her heart on the line. And in the end, it comes out looking like Jaime never really loved her at all. That she was just some kind of, that she was basically just used as a catalyst to send Jaime back to Cersei. And I wish they had never slept together, because now Brienne has her heart broken. She loved Jaime, and Jaime left her crying in the courtyard, and that's the last time they ever saw each other. Brienne, who has always thought that she was unlovable because she's not conventionally attractive, because she's not the traditional woman, now that self-consciousness is being reinforced, and she's left feeling unlovable again. And Jaime comes off looking like a total dick who used her for sex and then abandoned her like she didn't mean anything. And as a Braimy fan, I feel so betrayed, and I wish that they had never become canon. Because now Jaime looks like a total asshole, and Brienne's heartbroken. And I'm seeing all these theories about what if Jaime and Brienne were not sleeping together one time. They were sleeping together for a while, and I've seen theories about what if Brienne ends up being pregnant with the last Lannister heir. And a couple weeks ago, that thought would have made me so excited, and now I gotta say, I hope she's not. Because she doesn't deserve to be saddled with the illegitimate child of the man who abandoned her and who broke her heart like it was nothing. I'm so sorry, Brienne. You deserved so much better than this. Another thing about Jaime's arc that is really upsetting to me is the line where he basically said that he doesn't care about any innocent lives, because I just think that's fundamentally untrue. I don't think that Jaime is this bad person the show wants us to believe that he was. And He killed the Mad King and saved the entire city. So him saying that he never cared about innocence is just not true. Saying I would have slaughtered every man, woman, and child in Riverrun for Cersei, but he didn't for Brienne. In the books, when he threatens Edmure Tully's child, that's an empty threat. He doesn't actually mean it. He wouldn't hurt a baby. And to hear him say that he's never cared about anyone else, that he's never cared about innocent life, it doesn't ring true to me. And I think another thing about the Jaime thing and the Daenerys thing that pisses me off is that I've, over these 8 seasons, seen the kindness and the goodness they are capable of. And now, within the world of Westeros, they won't be remembered for any of the good things they did. They will be completely and utterly vilified by history. Jaime will not... I knew Jaime was going to die, but I hoped that if he was going to die, it would be a triumphant moment where he kills Cersei. And now, he will be remembered as a queen slayer and praised for it. People will remember him as someone who did the heroic thing, and that's not going to happen. In this universe, Jaime is still the Kingslayer. He has not overcome that bad reputation that he didn't deserve. It's gonna stick with him, stick with his memory. And as for Daenerys, this woman who inspired so much hope and faith in people, who saved people from slavery, she's going to be remembered as the Mad Queen. And all of her good deeds will be lost to history. And that, to me, makes me feel so angry and hopeless. Because what's the point? What's the point of Daenerys trying to not become her father, to be a good person, to break the wheel, if she's going to end up going crazy in a matter of minutes? What's the point of Jaime trying to become a good person, to break away from this toxic relationship, if he's just gonna go back and die unspectacularly with Cersei? What was the point of any of this? There is no point. And that's why I feel so betrayed. Because if you're going to do this, it should matter. It should make sense. And it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It is cheap, shock value plot twists that are just betraying the fans. And that's why I'm so upset. I'm going to read this post I saw on Tumblr because I think it really sums up a lot of my thoughts here, and I'm having a really hard time articulating my feelings right now because I'm still very upset and angry. So this is the post by Dragonstone Stark on Tumblr. I'm gonna read it to you guys. One of the reasons this ending sucks so much is the implication of it. Missandei dying in chains, the Hound dying in fire, Jaime going back to Cersei, Dany fulfilling a mad Targaryen expectation. It's like they're saying you can never escape your past. What you've been will always be what you are. And that's a really, really terrible message to be sending. Then they followed up with this. Some of you in the notes are just passing around the same one brain cell, and it shows. No one expected Game of Thrones to have a happy Disney Channel ending. Obviously, it was going to be tragic, but there's a difference between a satisfying yet tragic ending and an A, ending that completely invalidates 7 seasons of character growth and makes each journey absolutely meaningless, and B, an ending that straight up tells real-life trauma survivors that your trauma always gets the best of you in the end. Also, if your idea of a tragic ending is a everyone suffers in the absolute worst way, and you should finish the story feeling as terrible about life and the world as possible, then IDK what to tell you, buddy. Take a literature class or something. Go to therapy. And to those of you saying it doesn't have meaning, I really have no idea how to explain to you how wrong that is. Nothing exists in a vacuum. Of course it has a meaning. Of course people are going to take lessons from it into their real lives. Of course it's going to teach people something. People don't write several 1,000-page books and 8 seasons of a show just for funsy onesies. To think otherwise bespeaks to a fundamental misunderstanding of how stories work. I also, to go back to the whole Daenerys thing, I think there is something xenophobic about how this turned out, because I've said before that I really had a problem with how the Starks hated Daenerys, not because of any character faults of Daenerys, but because she's not one of them, and I feel like that closed-minded view is now being upheld here by Daenerys turning into the mad queen that they thought she was. And that really disgusts me. Also, you know, the depiction of the Unsullied and the Dothraki, some of the the only people of color left on this show just really does not stick well with me. I mean, they did show the Northmen killing innocents too, and the man that Jon stopped from raping a woman was a Northman, but it still doesn't sit right with me. And in the current political time we're living in, I don't think that it's right to send this message that you should fear people who come from someplace else or are different from you, and that women can't be trusted in power positions. Because right now, there is so much xenophobia in America, and there is so much sexism, and I feel like the show is kind of, whether they intend to or not, validating those beliefs, and that is so upsetting to me. So I guess I will finish up this video by talking about the one thing about this episode that I really did like, and that was the final scene between Arya and the Hound. I thought that was a great closure to their relationship, and I thought it was very emotional and poignant. I really did love that scene, and I am hopeful. Maybe hopeful's too strong a word. I think there's a slim chance that Arya may get an ending that I am happy with. I don't want to say I'm hopeful because I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I feel like it's not completely lost, because I really did enjoy that moment of the Hound telling her that she doesn't have to dedicate her life to revenge, that she can still have happiness. It's not too late for her. It's too late for him, but she still has a chance to be happy. And actually, the actor who plays Beric Dondarrion revealed in an interview that originally in episode 3, when Beric was dying, he was going to say as his last word to Arya, live, basically encouraging Arya that she needs to survive and have a life. And so I want to see Arya get to be happy at the end of this, because if she's not, then it kind of makes Beric and the Hound's sacrifices feel pointless. So I want to believe that Arya is going to find some kind of happy ending at the end of this, that she is going to be able to move on from her trauma and be happy, be stable, have a nice life somewhere, somehow. I don't know. I would hope that she would go to Storm's End to reunite with Gendry. That would make me happy and make this ending suck a little less, because I do think that the two of them can make each other happy, and I do think that Arya can still be herself and be a lady, and that as a lady she could really make a difference. I loved in this episode getting to see Arya helping these civilians. That is more in line with the Arya Stark that I fell in love with and the Arya Stark that you see in the books. So I really did enjoy that moment. I mean, I don't know. There's also the question of, does Gendry's legitimization even stand? Because it was granted by Daenerys, and now Daenerys is going to end this series as queen of nothing. So I don't even know if that really counts anymore, but I hope either the two of them become Lord and Lady of Storm's End, or Arya goes back to Winterfell and lives out her life in peace happily there somehow, or maybe she decides that she's gonna get out of this piece of crap that is Westeros and go sail around the world, hopefully with Gendry, because if she ends the series going off alone, that would really suck to me. I just hope that somehow Arya can find fulfillment, because she is my absolute favorite character of them all, and that wouldn't take back these horrible things that did happen and this travesty of storytelling, but it would ease the pain a little bit for me if I could see Arya happy. And yeah, there was something else I was gonna say and I just lost my train of thought. I don't know what it was. Considering we saw the Hound talking to Gendry last episode about Arya, and now we see the Hound this episode encouraging Arya to live, I feel like that should foreshadow that the two of them are going to reconcile, but after how nonsensical everything else in this episode was, I don't want to get my hopes up for that happy Arya Gendry ending. So I don't know. It could still be a complete and utter train wreck, but at this point, I think a potential happy ending for Arya is the only thing that I can possibly hope for. I'm not gonna have high expectations for anything going into this last episode, to be honest. Last night after I watched this episode, I didn't even want to watch the series finale, but I already gave the show so much of my time, might as well give it one more hour, right? And, you know, I still think it was a really well done episode. You know, the cast and crew worked really hard on it. I didn't mention about the Arya and the Hound scene. I loved how she called him Sandor. She called him by his real name. I thought that was really beautiful, and it was a fitting end for these two characters. I saw like 5 different posts on Tumblr being like, Arya and Gendry need to name their firstborn son Sandor after this, which would like, that would be great. Somebody write a fanfic about that and send it to me. I'll read it. So even though I'm upset with the way things are going to end, the way things seem to be going, I only blame 3 people for that. And those are David Benioff, D.B. Weiss, and George R. R. Martin. I think the cast did the very best they could with the crappy material they were given. I think the directors and the people who do scenes and special effects and music, they all did the best they could with what they were given. And ultimately, the only people that I blame are the writers, because it's not anybody else's fault but their own. Everybody else did the best they could, and I am thankful to them for that. I will always love the cast, and I wish them all the best of luck in their future endeavors. I hope they all have amazingly successful careers, because they are all so talented and seem like great people. So guys, that is it for me today. Those are my brutally honest thoughts about this episode of Game of Thrones. I don't really know what the future has in store. I don't know how I feel about this series as a whole now. I don't know how I feel about A Song of Ice and Fire. So I guess we'll just see how much of this can be salvaged next week, and then once I've had more time to process my thoughts, I'll let you guys know. I don't know if I want to finish the books or watch the prequel now, which is really unfortunate, because 2 weeks ago this show was basically the best thing I had going on in my life, and now I feel really upset and betrayed. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would usually say here, I hope you enjoyed, but I don't know if enjoyed is really the right word to use. Please like this video if, I would usually say if you enjoyed. Like this video if you agree with me, I guess, or if you don't agree with me but thought I made good points. I don't know. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and I will see you guys next week to talk about the Game of Thrones series finale. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, and I hope to see you in the next one.